You know, you've kind of got something out of the workshop, so I hope very much. What we thought we'd start off with in this final plenary session was just, to the extent that's been possible, in each of the workshops we kind of hoped that there'd be a couple of really good ideas that emerged that might be next steps on that particular aspect. So if we look at the various different workshops and just ask the people who are sort of facilitating to call out some of the ideas that got generated in each workshop from this morning. So we may not have done a complete capture, but in the workshop where local campaigners, people from West Wales, were looking at how to sort of stimulate and do campaigning locally, would whoever was sort of facilitating just call out some of the ideas that came from that?
Whether it's local, national, whether they have spiritual reasons, moral reasons, a whole lot.
And I didn't really talk about what we can do about it, except I mentioned the International Committee for Robot Arms Control that I'm working with. I'm not a grassroots activist, and I really admire grassroots activists, but I think we're trying to take it on a bigger political scale and try and hit the politicians and the policymakers in Europe especially, try and get them to talk about this and think about it a bit more. And we have managed to get some politicians to our conference.
Fantastic.
But my main thing myself is that we should try to raise public awareness, and not by being sanctimonious or anything. I mean, you have to be more subtle than that, just to bring it out to the public and just make them think about it. Because, you know, I was at a workshop with 1,100 journalists, and they hadn't heard about drones. You know, so it's just strange that people aren't hearing about it. It keeps being buried in tiny little bits of newspapers. And if you're working in it like I am, I find information everywhere all the time. But you have to be that kind of geeky person who's looking for technology news, otherwise, or strategy news or defence news. Otherwise you won't know about it. And I think it would be very good as a campaign, rather than just standing outside places with placards, is actually to hold a lot more events like this locally, even in schools, and just tell people what's going on.
Just two specific ones. One was to maybe take a poll on public opinion poll on autonomous drones, just to kind of get a snapshot and see what the public feel about autonomous drones, to get that on record. And the second was in relation to BAE, but also the Ministry of Defence, to do more freedom of information requests. It's on the MOD website. Anybody can do this, to put in a freedom of information request about drones. You know, how are they being used? Why are they being used? And just to kind of, if many of us do that, they will have an impact, I feel.
And one thing to just add on that is that in order to get good information, if we ask the question why are they being used, the best way to sort of do the wording is to kind of focus on a particular incident and ask for example, all the reasons relating to your decision to take this action, as opposed to simply could you explain your general thinking, and that will help to flush out information. Thank you very much for being so brief as well. And moving on then to the legal side of things, I wonder if you could just... There's a few here. You can hold it up, I can pick some out. I was a facilitator, I failed in my task.
No, you're doing too many tasks.
But some of the really good suggestions, I'll try and keep it brief. Compile a database of drones where it's sort of gone wrong in terms of the technology. You know, we've got rogue drones that are going out of communication and this kind of thing, to try and actually put that into a database of some sort. An umbrella group, there was some genuine interest in coordinating some kind of coalition to perhaps do fundraising with the idea of raising a legal challenge of some sort, and there are a number of groups and specific lawyers named who might be interested in taking that forward. So that's something that we'll probably look into further. And then trying to make links with the campaigns that have happened previously on sort of cluster munitions and this kind of thing, to see what can be drawn from their learning and their campaigning that might be applicable.